There's a gleam. Let's get the gleam, all right? Let's go.
The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. Thank you. It's true. And these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East. But we don't know, because we have protection, and we have no competence. We don't know what's happening. And it's got to stop. And it's got to stop fast.
What did I say? I'm not gloating, but what did I say? Did I not say that we would win it? We rocked them, Bama. We rocked them. Nigga, you see me coming on that plane?
You a question?
What do you have? Go ahead. No, that's enough. Go ahead.
Can I ask? But that wasn't my question.
The problem is you don't write the truth. So, as far as I'm concerned, I want to go to the next.
Can I ask you a question about?
No, not CNN, please. Go ahead.
The White House has not responded to these
I told you. CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. Go ahead, please.
But he says he was retaliated against, and that's why he was removed from his.
Sure. Yes, I'm sure, bitch. I got the head of the CIA right here. He'll tell you.
Job. Do you have a response to that?
Okay, next question.
Mr. President, I have.
Guess that means you need to shut up. That's what I do if I had no army. I would shut up. Shut the That's
right. You held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's the answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why you held on to the documents?
I was negotiating and we were talking to.
It was $35,000.
$35,000 cash money?
No, I give $35,000 plus one, right?
The one I gave.
No, you gave me six, though, right? That was one. I had one. It was six, and $35,000 plus one plus six was seven. $35,000 and seven, right? Motherfucker, can you buy that?
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Damn, I know I shouldn't have called on this nigga. I shouldn't have called on you because you always trying to distract motherfucker. Fine, I'll answer your stupid-ass question.
I plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported. The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador.
Well,
stop worrying about that. I got that under control.
Let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country.
It means you need to shut up. That's what I do if I had no army. I would shut up. Shut the
So will you return him, President
And you are doing a great job. Thank you.
you.
Wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant. Because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them.
We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children.
No, shut the
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over, and that's why nobody watches you anymore?
By the way, if you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're gonna know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much better than that.
Get the fuck out!
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever this video finds you. Welcome to Tits. I know, took some days off. Enjoy the weather. Plus, I have other things to do. But we are back, and we are here to deal with President Ramaphosa came to Washington. And like some people that come to Washington, they wind up running into Trump, and then they wind up getting dealt with or handled with kid gloves. It all depends on how he feels with you, feels about you. And this right here didn't go too well for him. Didn't go too well for him at all. Hold on a second here. It is what it is. All right. So let's get into it. This segment brought to you by Washington Department Rick. White Rick. Y'all get the camera set up. Let's go. We ready? We ready?
Thank you very much, everyone. It's a great honor to be with the President of South Africa, President Ramaphosa. And he is a man who is certainly in some circles really respected, other circles a little bit less respected, like all of us, in all fairness, like all of us.
We all like that.
We also have a few of my friends. Ernie Els, a great golfer. He's a truly great golfer. Retief Goosen, who's an other really, we call him really a great golfer too, Ernie, right? You two guys are fantastic. And we could add Gary to the group, Gary Player. What a group of golfers South Africa's had.
Yes.
There must be something in the water, right? It's something good. These two guys are unbelievable.
It's the water set.
Yeah, Gary's Gary. And David Frost, also another one that I know is such a great one. Was he as good a putter as they say, David? He's a putter. He's a putting machine, right? But he's another one. So something very good about South African golf, and golf is still doing great in South Africa. And they have young players I hear coming up that are going to be very good. But it's an honor to have you here, and my friend, it's an honor to have you, one of the greatest businessmen in South Africa and long beyond. Thank you for being here. It's a very, very great honor. Appreciate it. So we're going to be discussing certain things. As you know, we have the G20 is going to South Africa. When is that going to be?
In November.
In November.
Thereafter, I hand over to you.
Yes, we have it next.
You originated the G20, so I'll hand over the baton to you, and then you lead the G20.
We're going to have it. We're going to have it the following year.
Yeah.
So we'll be discussing many things, and some of the things you've been reading about in the papers, and the media. And I would say that, look, the president is a truly respected man in many, many circles, and in some circles he's considered a little controversial. But we're going to be discussing some of the things that are taking place in South Africa and see if we can help. And we want to help. And we've had a long relationship with South Africa. I have, because indirectly I have so many friends that live there. I have a lot of friends. I mean, these are famous guys, but I have a lot of friends that live there that are tremendous people. And we'll be discussing that. We'll have a nice conversation. And I really appreciate that you guys came along. It really helps us in our thought process. But it is a great honor to have you, and I appreciate you called. He called. I don't know where he got my number, but I picked up. He said, I want to come over and see you. That was my honor. Thank you very much for being here.
You're most welcome. Most welcome. Well, thank you very much for welcoming us to this reformed White House. I've been here before, and it looks really fantastic. I must congratulate you.
Thank you.
But I also thank you for allowing our delegation. This is a very mixed delegation that you've got. We've got people from government, my ministers. I've got someone from the trade union movement who we really collaborate with, and from business as well, and our sporting legends. When I spoke to you, you said, yes, come along and bring Gary Player, bring any else, and Retief Wilson. I've brought the two of them. Gary Player, I spoke to him, and he said, look, I'm getting rather on in my years, but wishes us luck in this discussion with you. So it's a real joy. And I'd also like to thank you for allowing your people to start discussions with us at the trade level. I mean, we are essentially here to reset the relationship between the United States and South Africa. We are long-standing partners in many, many ways. We've collaborated in many fields, in space issues, in energy, and in trade. And we therefore need to reset that, particularly in the light of some of the announcements that you made on trade and investment. So we want to advance more trade between the two of us, two countries, and our people now have been empowered by yourself and by myself to start engaging. And we hope that we will be able to fuel that engagement during our talks. And we also want to discuss issues that have to do with how we promote further investments in both countries. We've got about 22 companies from South Africa that have invested in the US. That's creating a number of jobs.
It can be boring.
Similarly, you've got almost 600 companies that have invested in South Africa, and some of them have been in South Africa for more than 100 years.
That's true.
So our links are really long-lasting, and we would like to recalibrate those relations between our two countries and discuss a whole range of issues, geopolitical, the work that you're doing to bring peace around the world, in Ukraine and in the Middle East. So we value that, and we are also a great contributor to peace processes that are going on around the world. And of course, we want to discuss how we can support each other. You are a much bigger economy than we are. We're just a tiny economy, but we rely on each other on a number of issues. We've got critical minerals that you want to fuel the growth of your own economy and reindustrialize.
Oh, okay.
So we have
you're here to make that money deal.
Minerals.
I'm not mad
So
at
all that combination of opportunity and products that we
I always forget to do that,
as well as what we sell to you, I believe makes up a really good and powerful relationship, which we need to strengthen, which we need to engender. And that is really what has brought us here. And we are really privileged to have, great South Africans in the mix. As you said, you'd like to see them as well. And I brought you a really fantastic golf book. Weighs 14 kilograms.
Oh, that sounds good.
And it showcases the golf courses in our country. Johan Rupert wrote preface, so did many else. And I want to showcase our golf courses. You might remember when I spoke to you and we spoke about golf, you said I should start practicing. And I started practicing, President. So I'm ready. Let me end just the introductory remarks by
get out on them links.
You may not recall that 5 years ago I spoke to you during the COVID period, right? And it was at a time when the whole world was going through a really cathartic moment, right? And we asked for assistance, and you were able to assist us with
reciprocity.
Respirators.
Oh, respirators. Okay.
Respirators, and you kept to your word, and you delivered respirators to us. We didn't have as many in our country, and it really helped to help us deal with COVID. So I'm here also to say thank you and to thank the people of America for having helped us during a really difficult time. Being the small economy that we are, we needed help from around the world. And you were there to provide that. So thank you very much.
I remember the call.
Yeah.
We sent 150 respirators. We became the respirator king. We started making them. Nobody had them. We had very few of them.
That's right.
But they were very helpful. But we sent 150, and I appreciated the letter you wrote me around.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
Appreciate that very much.
Thank you very much for that. It really touched my heart after I spoke to you and you delivered. great honor. Thank you very much.
Any questions, please?
Mr. President, you welcome white Afrikaner refugees here. Can you explain to Americans why it's appropriate to welcome white Afrikaners here when other refugees like Afghans, Venezuelans, Haitians have all had their protected status revoked?
Well, this is a group, NBC, that is truly fake news. They ask a lot of questions in a very pointed way. They're not questions, they're statements. We've had tremendous complaints about Africa, about other countries too, from people. They say there's a lot of bad things going on in Africa, and that's what we're going to be discussing today.
What up, baby?
When you say we don't take others, all you have to do is take a look at the southern border. We let 21 million people come through our border, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. They came from all over the world. In many cases, they're criminals. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions. They come from street gangs. They're drug dealers. So don't say that we didn't take them. We're trying to get them out as fast as we can. And we're doing record business on that. And we just won a big case where we're allowed to send back hundreds of criminals to Venezuela. Just won that today in the Supreme Court. I'm happy to hear. But we do have a lot of people are very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting, and we'll see how that turns out. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that. It's a kind of a different meeting. Normally we have meetings, we talk about trade, and we'll be talking about trade and other things.
Well, yeah, if you want something from me, we got to talk about an issue.
Yes, please. Brian?
Thank you very much. I'd like to get your thoughts on Letitia James, Director Polte. According to him, Letitia James says that the alleged mortgage fraud was simply a mistake. Get your thoughts on that. She put down that her father was her husband in order, and this is very similar to, I guess, the false attacks they had on him.
Well, I don't know what it is currently, but Letitia James, who's the Attorney General of New York State, it seemed, I'm not involved in that at all. I know that it's being handled by various groups, I guess, but it's major fraud, mortgage documents, and fraudulent everything. I think she said the father was her husband, which she had to have a husband, so she chose her father, and she put it down, and she had didn't she sign in Virginia, yet she said she lived in Virginia, yet she's the New York State Attorney General. She did that for tax reasons, so she could take advantage of taxes. And she had the wrong number of units. She had a much different number, which wouldn't have allowed her to qualify and scam the government. So I don't know. I think she's very bad for New York, but I really don't know too much about it, but I appreciate the question. Thank you very much.
Well, so as of today, what happened was she came out, like she said, like dude said, she came out and said it was a mistake. But there's no mistake. There's no mistake. You didn't sign your name to those documents by accident. You didn't put your father's name down as your husband by accident. You didn't lie about your residence being 4 bedrooms when it was 5 by accident. But she never really thought that the Department of Justice would actually charge her. She really thought that, for some reason, the Democrats and people who are Democratic minded, they think that this presidency, that Trump is playing with them. Trump is not playing with them. He's not playing with these people. You're going to see politicians get charged with crimes, just like Monica McNutt up in New Jersey, throwing bows. Yes, you're getting charged. They're prosecuting you. They're not here to play games with you. Why? I don't know why you think that you can try to bankrupt a man, throw him in jail, and then try to take him out. Luckily, he turned his head at the right time and think that he's just going to act like there's nothing to it. And then once he gets in the office, you try to use lawfare against him, trying to stop him from doing what he needs to do as the president, and you think that he's just going to sit back and take it. That's not what's going to happen. That is not what's going to happen. You're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. And if the Democratic Party fully collapses, that's not his fault. It's yours. You should have known better. Should have played nice. Should have played nice. But, I mean, I guess as a show of good faith, the whole tax on tips, that vote passed 100-0. Everybody voted yes on that. No Democrats opposed it. 100-0, it passed. Now it moves on. It moves up. I mean, so I guess that's a start. But as I've been saying, like, in all honesty, it's time in a situation like this, when you see that everything that he's doing, he's trying to better the country. Instead of trying to oppose him at every single freaking turn, you need to get on board. Okay, so you're selling gold card tickets. All right, where are these corporations going? So that way I can try to get my constituents first crack at these jobs. Can we get some of these businesses, these foreign businesses out here in Gary, Indiana? Well, they already got the auto industry coming there. Can we get them down here? What, in Mississippi? They've got the auto industry there. What about Ohio? What about Texas? What about South Carolina, North Carolina? Illinois, somewhere, anywhere, in heartlands, places where people need jobs. Let's get this here. If I'm a Democrat or anybody that is trying to run for office or that's actually in office, that's what I'm doing. I know I sound like a broken record every time I say it, but it just makes common sense. You're going up against the guy and you're losing at every turn.
Mr. President, I want you to be convinced that there's no genocide.
Thank you, Mr. President. So May 25th will be the celebration of Africa Day, which pretty much a lot of celebration will be taking place around the world, including here in the United States. What is your message to the entire African?
I need to turn that. Okay.
African people in this important.
Can y'all hear that?
Well, I want to see peace and I want to see happiness. I want to see health, and you have incredible land. There's tremendous value. A lot of countries don't have that value in the land. The value you have. We have a situation. I think you probably heard about it. We've done through some very talented people help settle a war that's been raging for years. Rwanda and the Congo, and I think we've done it. Believe it or not, I think we've done it. And could you just say a few words about that, my friend?
Yes. A couple of weeks ago, they signed the two parties signed the Declaration of Principles, in which they agreed on the way forward, and they have both submitted draft peace agreements, and we have put together one that incorporates both of their suggestions, and we've given it to them. So we're in the process of finalizing.
Looking good, right?
Looking very good.
No, we have to thank you for even those efforts, because the African continent, particularly SADC, our Southern African Development Community, has for years been seeking to foster peace in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So all efforts, including those from outside the continent and inside the continent, are really worthwhile. We are removing our troops from there so that peace can then prevail in that whole area. And we hope that with the support of the international community, we will really have peace in that area. It's so vital and so important for the whole region.
Well, we sent our people there, and I think we did a very good job. I said it by my friend, and that was great. That was great. I mean, I'm just hearing phenomenal reports, because all I'm hearing is death, and they're chopping heads off, and it's horrible over there.
Yeah, I think they cut the heads off of 40
brave of you to go
something
there, and I
Christians
really
or whatever.
appreciate it. And it looks like that. It looks like we have something very, very substantial. We also talked about trade with them in terms of rare earth and all, but really more for the. It's like if you take a look at what we just did with Pakistan and India, we settled that whole thing, and I think I settled it through trade. We're doing a big deal with India. We're doing a big deal with Pakistan, and I said, "What are you guys doing?" You know, somebody had to be the last one to shoot, but the shooting was getting worse and worse, bigger and bigger, deeper and deeper into the countries, and we spoke to them, and I think I hate to say we got it settled, and then 2 days later, something happens, and they say it's Trump's fault, but Pakistan has got some excellent people and some really great leader. And India is my friend, Modi. And he's a
mutual friend.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And I called them both, and we just did something good. We're trying to settle Russia, Ukraine. We spoke with President Putin for 2.5 hours the day before yesterday. I think we made a lot of progress, but that's a bloodbath. 5,000 people are being killed a week, 5,000 soldiers a week, not including people in cities and towns that are also being killed. So
wow.
To help. And it doesn't affect us. It's not our people. It's not our soldiers. It's Ukraine and it's Russia. But if we can save 5,000 souls, we'll do it. We're pretty good at it. But that's a bad situation. That is a really bad situation.
Well, you'd recall when President Zelensky was coming to South Africa, that's when I spoke to you.
That's right.
We both agreed that we need to push the peace message so that there can really be peace. And we've been involved in the Ukraine-Russia conflict for quite a while. Through my Minister of State Security here, we've been dealing with them, the exchange of children who were taken away, going through names and addresses and all that. So we've been invested in that whole process as well. And the moves that you're making are fully supported by us because we would like to see the end of that war.
Sure. I called Zelensky and they said, he's in South Africa. I said, what the hell is he doing in South Africa?
He's talking to us.
We got this thing.
Well, now you know.
I said, what are you doing in South Africa?
Yes.
That's a strange one.
He's trying to make peace. We're taking him. We were lucky because we had the great Nelson Mandela who taught us how to create peace, to make peace. So we were imparting some of those lessons to him, some of those learnings. And I specifically mentioned to him that this is how Nelson Mandela taught us.
Because he walked away with no money.
When you want to have the peace.
No money, no army.
Do it on
no military equipment. He just walked away.
And that's exactly what.
Wise words and a pat on the back. Fight your own battles.
There's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of death. It's a bloodbath.
It is.
Unfortunately. I get the satellite pictures of that field, of that killing field. You never saw anything like it in your life. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing that goes on, but I think we've made big progress. Yeah, please go ahead. No, not you. Right here. He's from South Africa. Go ahead, please.
What are you expecting on the ICJ case? Are you expecting South Africa to drop that? Is that what you're trying to do?
On which case?
The ICJ
the International Criminal Justice.
I don't expect anything, to be honest. I really don't. I don't know. It's they've got a case. There's a lot of anger there, tremendous anger. I don't expect anything. We'll see what happens. We'll have a ruling, and who knows what the ruling is going to mean. Yeah.
On that subject of Gaza, Mr. President, are you going to be speaking to Prime Minister Netanyahu about Israel's renewed defense? There's been a lot of concern from European countries. The Pope has expressed concern. Are you going to be asking Prime Minister Netanyahu to tone down the offensive in Gaza to let more aid in?
Was that a question or a statement? This guy's, you never change.
Mr. President, what will it take from you?
He didn't even ask the question.
That there's no white genocide in South Africa.
Well, I can answer that for the President. It's for him. No, seriously.
I'd rather have him answer.
Yeah, I'd rather answer that. It will be.
Our president will respond to you.
Yeah, let me,
Thank you, Mr. President.
it will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us on the quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective. That is the answer to your question.
But Mr. President, I must say that we have, wait. We have thousands of stories talking about it. Sure. And we have documentaries.
Oh, I got to show y'all this.
News stories.
He's about to do it.
Is Natalie here? Somebody here to turn that? I could show you a couple of things.
Show him the tape, Larry.
I have to, it has to be responded to.
Yeah, sure.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would. And turn the lights down. Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. South Africa occupy land. That's who we are. But I would never want to do. Can we withdraw my membership from this useless parliament? Yes, Honorable Member. Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot, kill, Ramaphosa, kill the poor, the farmer.
Yeah, look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Don't you feel ashamed? Shouldn't you feel ashamed? You out here with your hand out trying to do business, but you got this going on in your country? Yeah, look at you, sweating, nervous. You Trump, like, y'all see this?
Is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Pajama and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, come on. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness. Shoot, kill, Ramaphosa, kill the poor, the farmer.
I got some idiot in my comments about the mode. The videos are fake. You don't want to watch the turn and watch the hey dude, the screen is over there. Screen's over there to your right. Turn your head to your right. Don't be ashamed of it now. Yes, he's rubbing it in your face. Yeah. Take a look. You gonna come here with your hand out, but you know the reason why those farmers had to seek asylum in America. Instead of making a deal with the farmers,
we will expropriate land without compensation.
This is what we got.
Like it or not, if they object,
should have made a deal with the farmers.
Now this is very bad. These are burial sites right here. Burial sites. Over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers.
Oh, now you want to look for real.
And those cars aren't driving, they're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who was killed. And it's a terrible sight. I've never seen anything like it. Both sides of the road, you have crosses.
You want to act like you've never seen those before? You want to act like you don't know they exist?
Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen.
Hold on, I bet. Oh, you've never seen this? Okay, hold on, I'll back it up for you.
Those people were all killed.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is.
You don't know where that is in your own country? Like saying you don't know where your sock drawer is.
We need to find out.
But you're here in the White House trying to make deals. Just wow.
Okay.
Mr. President, the Pentagon announced it would be accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You know, you gotta get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing, they also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back, you ought to go back to your studio at NBC, because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from you. Go ahead.
Wow. Him like he was a disobedient child.
His name is Peter something. He's a terrible reporter. Quiet. Let's go.
Oh my God, I got new clips.
Thank you very much.
What would you like President Ramaphosa to do about the situation that we've just seen on the screen?
I don't know. Look, these are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. Horrible death. Death. I don't know. To pick anyone, white South Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws. And this is all, I'll give these to you. So when you say, what would I like to do? I don't know what to do. Look at this. White South African couple say that they were attacked violently.
President Trump, when will you go and see for yourself if it is?
Well, I could do that. Look, here's burial sites all over the place. These are all white farmers that are being buried. And he asks about a jet that was given. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You are so bad. You're such a bad reporter.
Oh my God. Ramaphosa was like, can I see those? Like, let me get those.
Can we get a report from President Ramaphosa?
Your reaction to those videos?
Well, I think the videos are so. No. When you look at the videos, I mean, how does it get worse? And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land. That's what. And I have other friends in South Africa. I have people that left. One in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land, they take your land, and they kill you. It's okay, and they say it's okay to do. Now, we're going to talk about it, but this is a tremendous, look, this is story recent. These are all people that recently got killed. And I don't know how it can get any worse. These are, and you know, the men that you saw, the people that you saw in that movie, those are officials. Those are people that were in office. They had one march, they had a dance in your parliament, whatever you may call it, legislature.
But let me clarify that.
Yeah.
Let me clarify that because
let's see what you have to say, bro.
That were being made. One, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies, and in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy.
Okay, but that's like us here in America. This is like us giving the KKK a permit to march up and down the street. You know what? You have the right to free speech here in America. You have the right to peaceful protest, but you do not have the right to protest in a government facility. And the bylaw that a lot of people tend to ignore when it comes to free speech, like, yes, you're free to say whatever you want, but you're not free from the consequences of saying whatever you want. Just as what was that, James Comey, former FBI director, with that 86-47, they don't want to try to play stupid. I didn't know what that meant. You're the Just so he knows, they're going to be wiretapping the hell out of they probably have already wiretapped his house and bugged his phone just to see who he's talking to. But,
government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can
take land. And then when
they
take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No, there is
nothing happens.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately, through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people.
Okay.
And we have now been utilizing.
The farmers are not black. I don't
now
say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were killed. Their heads chopped off. They died violently. And, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't know we'd get involved here. But I will say this, that if the news wasn't fake, like NBC, which is fake news, totally one of the worst, ABC.
Man, they just catch it straight.
But if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters, they'd be covering it. But the fake news in this country doesn't talk about that. They don't want to talk about it.
I know, I'm being theatrical.
They have to talk about it.
But still.
This won't even be a subject. They'll have him talking about why did a country give a free, think of this. Why did a country give an airplane to the United States Air Force? Okay, the United States, not to me, to the United States Air Force, so they could help us out because we need an Air Force One until that's Air Force One, it's being built. 2 of them being built. But Boeing's a little bit late, unfortunately. So why did they give us a plane to the United States Air Force? That's what that idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry.
Again, with this freaking plane, it's going to be stripped down and is immediately decommissioned. Going to be stripped down. All right. Whatever good technology that might be more advanced than the U.S. has, or a good idea, they're going to implement it, not that particular piece, but they'll replicate it, make sure that it's hack free, all right, 100% safe, and then put it in the new plane. But that plane itself, the design of it is what the plane itself, the design of the plane, the technology of the plane, that's the gift, not the actual plane. Nobody's expecting to fly that particular plane. The technology and the architecture of the plane is the gift. But they're going to strip it down. That thing's never going to fly. And it's not for him. Man, it's like if you bring a casserole dish to somebody's house, and of course nobody eats it because your cooking is bad, or they don't trust your cooking, or maybe you have a dirty kitchen. Then there you go. Gift from a casserole dish from Qatar, where they mix the dough with their knead the dough with their feet. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what they do. I'm just saying.
They don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did.
Oh, I missed that plane. Okay.
That idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about, and talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around a table and talk about them.
Well, there are problems.
And this is precisely what we
would I mean, you're here, let's talk, maybe.
Including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you.
Give them those dead.
Those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many ways.
Give those to him.
Say you are a partner of South Africa, and that you are raising concerns, and these are concerns that we are willing to talk to you about. Let me just add quickly, the criminality that we are
Oh no, let me pause it before you say something. If you've noticed, if you've been paying attention, and I said this, when JD Vance went to Munich and he gave that speech and he told the EU, hey, you guys are going down the same route we were going down under Biden, where you were limiting free speech, you were pushing unnatural lifestyles onto society, your immigration problem is seriously out of control. You need to, and your crime problem is just exploded. You need to fix this. If you notice, before Trump and the UK made their deal, before the US and the UK made their deal with the tariffs, they got a new PM. They voted and said that a female is a woman is a biological woman, with XX chromosomes, no more of this pretend stuff. Now they're working on their immigration problem. They're starting to kick immigrants, illegal immigrants, or immigrants, period, that are committing serious crimes out there. They're starting to deport those people. They're kicking those people out of the country now, because over there they were having like great gangs, like gangs of 5 men. They would just attack females, particularly young, like they were doing here in the United States. And it's so bat crap crazy over there that they let these people go. They don't even prosecute these males, these animalistic males who do this, saying, with the excuse being, what they don't see it as a crime. They don't see that assaulting women in that way, they don't see it as a crime. So therefore, we're not punishing them. Like, excuse me, is this the UK or is this, Saudi Arabia or something? Where do you think you are? This is not a Muslim country, but they have Muslim leaders in some of their key positions, and it's tearing their country apart. So it's going to take them a few years to get their stuff together, maybe between 5 to 10. But at least they're trying to make progress. But as JD Vance was telling them, if you don't clean this up, we're not going to help you. So they're trying. The UK is trying. It's just a matter of what everybody else does. But back to this.
Experience in our country needs quite a lot of technological capability. And in one of our areas in South Africa, we're using US technology, which is able to, in many ways, identify where shootings are happening and all that. And I'd like to talk about that because there is support that we can get from you and the United States to help us deal with all these acts of criminality. And that is what I believe partnership is all about. And we are here as a partner so that we can help each other whenever there are challenges.
So you want your funding back?
Discuss it, and of course, outside of the media, so that we sit down and have a really good discussion that will lead to good outcomes.
Sparkling white grape.
Are there any other punitive measures that could be in place should you not be satisfied that South Africa is fixing some of the very bad things that you tweeted are happening?
Well, there are a lot of bad things happening in many countries, but this in particular has been very, very bad, very bad. And because of we're going to have the whole world watching in another short period of time because you have the G20, and that's a big deal. And it seems like, I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad.
Very good.
But we have hundreds of people, thousands of people trying to come into our country because they feel they're going to be killed and their land is going to be confiscated. And you do have laws that were passed that gives you the right to confiscate land for no payment. You can take away land for no payment.
I want to clarify that because we have a constitution. Our constitution guarantees and protects the sanctity of tenure of land ownership. And that constitution protects all South Africans with regard to land ownership. However, we do say, because we've got to deal with the past, the government, and as your government also has the right to expropriate land for public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that. And we are going to be doing so.
You're taking people's land away
we have not.
From them.
We have,
and those people in many cases are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that. How do you explain that? They're taking people's land away, and in many cases, those people are being executed. And in many cases, it's not the government that's doing it. It's people that kill them and then take their land, and nothing happens to them. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country. They're also going to Australia in a smaller number.
Oh, Lord, not Australia.
Want to come into our country, and they're white farmers. And they
Sorry,
feel
Australia,
that,
but I wouldn't go there even if you pay me.
In South Africa, and it's a bad thing. Yeah, please.
What can South Africa do? What concessions would you like to see them make to improve relations with the United States? Then I have one more for President Ramaphosa.
Well, we just spoke about, I got them a very, very complex machine, 150 of them. I was asked by the president if they could help, and I did that. And, I have great feeling for all countries. I deal with all countries, but I have a great feeling for South Africa because I have friends. I have a couple of friends, a few friends here today, but I have many friends from South Africa. But many of those friends are not, they can't go back. I have Elon is from South Africa. I don't want to get Elon involved. That's all I have to do. Get him into
Elon was there?
Thing. But Elon happens to be from South Africa. This is what Elon wanted. He actually came here on a different subject, sending rockets to Mars. Okay, he likes that better. He likes that subject better. But Elon is from South Africa. And I don't want to talk to him about that. I don't think it's fair to him.
That's right.
But I will say that people are fleeing South Africa for their own safety. Their land is being confiscated, and in many cases, they're being killed. And that scene of You see
Thanks
how
for
many
the follow,
crosses they
Noah.
have. Those crosses, that's a dead person in every one of them. And those trucks or cars are paying their respects to all of those dead people on a Sunday morning. That's a rough thing to explain away. And the problem we have, and the way, a correct and a fair media exposes things. But we have a very corrupt media. They won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now, I will say apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. This is sort of the opposite of apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it. All we know is we're being inundated with people, with white farmers from South Africa. And it's a big problem. Marco Rubio was telling me he's never seen anything like it.
Yeah, because when I was doing a little research earlier today, on this subject, I was typing in about white farmers being murdered in Africa, and that was just it gave me BS. I'm sorry, Gemini, but you gave me BS. You told me let's see, you say South Africa recently passed the Expropriation Act, which allows the government to seize land for public purposes, including infrastructure projects and land reform. However, the South African government has denied that this law is a tool for confiscation or racial targeting. The law permits expropriation without compensation in certain cases, but officials argue it is meant to address historical land inequalities rather than punish specific groups. Some critics, and this just goes to show you how old it is, how they haven't updated it. Some critics, including former U.S. President Donald Trump, have claimed that white farmers are being unfairly targeted, but South African authorities insist that the law applies to all landowners, regardless of race. As of mid-May 2025, no land had been forcibly taken without compensation under the new law. But my whole thing was, I kept asking him, I'm not asking you about the law. I asked, when did the law go into effect, and was any land taken beforehand? And it said it went into effect on January 20th. That's when Trump was sworn into office. But it has not yet been fully officially implemented, as the president must set an effective date through a proclamation in the government gazette. Okay, so it also says before this law, South Africa had an older expropriation framework dating back to 1975, which required compensation for land taken for public purposes. While land reform has been a contentious issue for decades, it says no land has been forcibly seized without compensation under the new law as of mid-May 2025. So basically what it was trying to tell me was that as I kept asking it and asking it and asking it, it kept trying to go by the law. As far as Gemini, it kept trying to go by the law. So under the law, no land has been taken, but yet just on an individual basis, it's happened. So then I just asked how many white South African farmers were killed. And it said the number of white South African farmers killed is a complex and often politicized issue. According to experts, about 50 farm murders occur annually. 50 farm murders occur annually, affecting farmers of all racial backgrounds. While some claim that white farmers are disproportionately targeted, South African authorities argue that farm attacks are part of the broader crime problem in the country rather than a racially motivated trend. They used to say that about police shootings back when Obama was in office, when it seemed like at least 3 times a week, somebody black was being victimized, usually unarmed, physically victimized by police officers. It wasn't until Trump came into office, Because I mean, and what we knew this because we always saw the body cam footage. The body cam footage was just like, it was like snuff films. We were at the point where we were almost numb to it. And keep in mind, Obama served 8 years. We were almost numb to it. It wasn't until Trump got into office that he started prosecuting police officers that were murdering or physically abusing not just unarmed black people, but just unarmed people, period. But the focus was on us. So that slowed down. And then, of course, the George Floyd situation happened, and we all know about the defunding the police, whatnot. And now it's like maybe about maybe 10 a year, maybe less. You know, very rarely, like you don't really get the unarmed shootings. Like they're very rare now. Very rare now. It's like the guy who killed the retired police officer that was just working traffic duty at a school or something. Like the guy, was it not Austin Metcalf? That's the white guy that got stabbed. I can't think of the guy's name, but his son stole a car. He was running. He had a gun. I haven't seen the body cam footage, so I don't know if he actually pointed the gun at the cop or not. So I don't have an opinion on that. But the simple fact that you had a gun on you in the commission of a crime, you ran, you stopped, the cop lit you up. Because in a situation like that, you ask any cop, they see you have a gun, you stop, boom. It's either it's a life or death situation, and they want to go home to their families. So they're going to do what they have to do. So the guy in his grievance, instead of, I mean, if you really wanted to call yourself, and keep in mind, I'm not condoning this, but if you really wanted to call yourself taking your anger and frustration out or get revenge on whoever, then why would you go after somebody that's not even in the same police department? You know the name of the cop who did that to your son. You know where he works. Again, I don't condone it, but if you call yourself being so big and bad, then why not confront, the cop that did this to your kid? Why would you do it to somebody that doesn't know, crap from Shinola? That was very cowardly. And to sit here and have black people root that on, like, please understand, you are outnumbered, outgunned, outmatched, outskilled. You don't want what you think you want. You do not want a race war. Trust me, you don't want that. You're not ready for that. There'll be National Guardsmen in the streets before that happens. But at any rate, situations they're just getting out of hand. They're getting ridiculous. Let's go.
The numbers of people that want to leave South Africa because they feel they're going to be dead very soon. Yes, please.
I was going to say,
Brian, go.
If I could just ask a question. 72% of farmers in your country are white. If they flee, do you feel that maybe the economy could collapse? You may not have a gap to fill in those people that need to replace those farmers.
I'd like my Minister of Agriculture.
Right, who's going to tend the land?
Who is white, who comes from an opposition party to mine, who's joined my government at my invitation to address this very issue, including the question that you've just raised. John?
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you for welcoming us to the White House. I would say we have a rural safety problem in South Africa. I don't think anyone wants to candy coat that. And it requires a lot of effort to get on top of it. It's going to require more policing resources. It's going to require different strategy to be able to deal with it. but certainly the majority of South Africa's commercial and smallholder farmers really do want to stay in South Africa and make it work. And I've just come from the largest agricultural show in the Southern Hemisphere with organized agriculture and farmers, and the majority of them want to stay. But they too there have a memorial to those who've died as a result of farm attacks. And as the Minister of Agriculture, it is something that I'm particularly exercised with my colleagues at police and my colleagues in the justice cluster to start making farm attacks and stock theft a priority crime. And it affects all farmers in South Africa, particularly stock theft. It has a disproportionate effect on smallholder black farmers. I also want to just say this, that the two...
Hold on. If the majority of your farmers are white, what do you say, 78% of the farmers in South Africa are white, and you're talking about 50 annual murders a year, then yes, you're looking at an issue. It's just like here in America with black on black crime. You know, more black people die at the hands of other black people. We are participating in our own genocide. Let's just be honest about that. Let's stop playing games. Let's stop pretending or blaming the white man for us killing ourselves. But over there, you guys you're killing your farmers over land, the majority of them being white, because whether they took the land or not, that's a y'all issue. But murder is not the way to go about it. Murder is not the way to go about it. Violence is not the way to go about it. You sit down, you talk, you work out deals. But my thing is, if the majority of the white farmers, and keep in mind, I'm not on anybody's side. We need to stop killing each other, attacking each other, treating each other like trash, and they need to stop doing the same thing. But they need to sit down and talk. They need to work it out. If the white farmers leave, then who's going to start tending the land? If 71% of them are white, who's going to feed your people? It's not like some guy out in the bush knows how to tend to a farm. These are your farmers. You need to issue them some type of safety guarantees. It has to be implemented. Your population will starve to death. You're doing it bass backwards. But we can thank him for admitting that, yes, there's a problem with it.
Individuals that are in that video that you've seen are both leaders of opposition minority parties in South Africa. Mkhonto weSizwe under Mr. Zuma and the economic freedom fighters under Mr. Malema. Now, the reason that my party, the Democratic Alliance, which has been an opposition party for over 30 years, chose to join hands with Mr. Ramaphosa's party was precisely to keep those people out of power. We cannot have those people sitting in the union buildings making decisions. And that is why after 30 years of us exchanging barbs across the floor in Parliament and trying to get one over on each other, we've decided to join hands precisely to keep that lot out of government, because they get in to the doors of the union buildings in South Africa or control of our parliament. That's what you're going to see. And that is why this government, working together, needs the support of our allies around the world so that we can strengthen our hand, grow our economy, and shut the door forever on that rabble getting through the doors of the union buildings, because then South Africa's future would be...
So you denounced that?
In all honesty, you know what they need? They need their form of FBI. They need their form of FBI to infiltrate these groups so that way they can keep tabs on them. That's how you curb a lot of violence. You be proactive.
That type of language in the video that you saw.
Oh yes, we've always done so. As government, as my own party, we are completely opposed to that. We, in 1955, adopted a document which said South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
But why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying, kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa. And that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people. And I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers, mostly. And you take a look at Australia, they're being inundated and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media, we don't have that because they won't talk about this because they're all guys like that idiot. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
Will you discuss USAID and the devastating impact the cuts are having across the African continent?
I wonder if they're about to shut TikTok down.
It's devastating, and hopefully a lot of people are going to start spending a lot of money. I've talked to other nations. We want them to chip in and spend money too. And we've spent a lot. And it's a tremendous problem going on in many countries. A lot of problems going on. The United States always gets the request for money. Nobody else helps, as you know. Europe doesn't help. Europe hasn't given anything. All they do is sue our companies. You know, they sue Apple and they sue all of our companies. Apple had to pay $17 billion on a nonsense lawsuit. All right. Very unfair. But we're going to always be there to help.
Human rights in South African broadcasting. If this Afrikaner resettlement issue is resolved, we're going to go into a room after this. You guys are going to talk. If it is resolved, what is the potential for the future-looking relationships?
It's fantastic. It's got to be resolved. It should be resolved. It's a little bit bad when you see a stadium with 100,000 people in it because that means it's more than just a little movement. It's a pretty big movement in South Africa, so it has to be resolved. It'll be the end of the country if it's not.
But is there potential for the relationship moving forward?
I hope so. That's why I'm here. I mean, I'm not here for my health. I'm here to see what No, I'd like to see. I have friends. I can tell you, Ernie Els and Retief Goosen, they feel so strongly they wanted to be here on behalf of South Africa, not on behalf of me. And, you know, they said, can we be here for this? Because they love the country. Ernie, do you guys want to say a couple of words? I hate to put you in this. This is tougher than
no, so they're there. They showed up. They showed up. They pulled up. Pulled up on Ramaphosa.
We've known each other a long time. We have spoken. You know, we're proud South Africans. I still have my South African passport. You know, we travel with this passport, you know, and I got my visa here. So, you know, but we want to see things get better in our home country. That's the bottom line. It's been 35 years since the transition. President Ramaphosa was right in the middle of the transition time, 1990, and before that. So it's been 35 years of ANC government, and I know there's a lot of anger, you know, through the transition. There's also a lot of stuff happening in the apartheid days. You know, we grew up in the apartheid era, but I don't think two wrongs makes a right. You know, President Mandela, when he came out of prison for all that time, didn't come out with hatred, you know, and really unified our nation through sport. You know, we won the Rugby World Cup in '95.
4 times.
We won the African Nations Cup, soccer. You know, we won some majors as golfers and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is, you know, this has been a long time coming. That's why we really wanted to meet you, meet the administration, and see our way forward, because we still want to see our country flourish. You know, we've got some great things going on. Business is getting involved with government. Farmers are getting involved in local municipalities, trying to rebuild some of the infrastructure that's been decaying for a long time. So there's a lot of coexistence going on and help from a lot of areas. But I feel we need the US to push this thing through. We've got a great ally we can have, the US. It's always been an ally of South Africa for a very long time. Even in the days of the war, you know, up in Angola, you know, you guys helped us. So very important for us to have your support and you know, get the change we need.
Where did you do that well? He might have done that even better than he plays golf, which is almost impossible.
Anyway.
President, if you had to wind all of those places properly, you will see I'm the biggest target of that rabble-rouser. Number one for over 10 years, Mr. Malema. In fact, the first time I met him, he was in the youth league with that gentleman. And look how he's changed.
Right.
We have too many deaths, but it's across the board. It's not only white farmers, it's across the board. And we need technological help. We need Starlink at every little police station. We need drones. I actually got drones donated for the peace parks to stop.
Yeah, you need security.
Elephant and rhino poaching. And his predecessor stopped the importation because he said the United States would spy on us. I mean, US basics, the ridicule. So if you can help us. Remember, sir, you and I lived in New York in the 70s. We never thought New York could be what it became. 2 commissioners, a tough mayor. We need your help to stop this awful killing. But it's across the board. Ernie's right now building a house in George. I'm building 3 cottages for my grandchildren on a farm outside Graaff-Reinet. I often go to bed without locking the door. And we have a serious problem with illegal aliens who stream across the border. And if you really look at our statistics, a lot of these murders, firstly, it's unemployment and illegal aliens. And then I met Vice President Vance many years ago, the Charlie Rose show. My wife loved the book. And she reminded me this morning that you emphasized the devastation that occurs when big companies leave towns and cities, and there's a culture of dependency that develops.
Right. The crime and poverty increases.
Now that's our problem. If we don't get our economy to grow, the culture of dependency and the lawlessness will increase. I've again been against apartheid all my life, and I'm their number 1 target. Please just Google my name and Malema. You'll see it, sir. He marched on the farm.
But the crime is bad.
The crime is terrible, sir, but Mr. Steenhuisen won't admit to it, but he runs the Western Cape, where I live. And the biggest murder rate is in the Cape Flats. Gangs. We've got gang warfare, like your M33, whatever these guys. We've got equivalents there, but we need your help, sir. And we need Elon technology.
Well, one of the real areas of support is really in investments. We've got to grow our economy, because through growing the economy, we're then able to create more jobs. Because crime really thrives where there is inequality and unemployment. And that is one of the reasons that has brought us here, to improve our investment relations, our trade relations, so that we can preserve the number of jobs that your companies have created in South Africa. By virtue of what we export to you, we are able to create up to 500,000 jobs in the auto industry, in the agricultural industry, and a number of other industries, mining, where we export things to you. And we also know that as South African companies invest here, you are also able to create jobs. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So our main real reason for being here is to foster trade and investment, so that we are able to grow our economy with your support, and so that we are also able to address all these societal problems, because criminality thrives when people are unemployed, when they have no other hope to eke out a living. So that is what we need to resolve. And your support, your partnership with us is what is really going to give us a strong capability to move forward.
Trump, I tell him flat out, as soon as he finished talking, like, I tell you what, you want us to make a trade deal with you concerning your minerals, because you know we could use your minerals. We can use your minerals. I mean, we're talking about trillions of dollars that we can make coming out with a trade deal with South Africa. We're the biggest consumers on the planet. Biggest consumer market on the planet. If you want us to do business with you as a country, then I need some assurances for the protection of the farmers. You need to do something, like you said, this guy that's filling up a stadium of 100,000 people talking all this rhetoric. You need to do something about that. You need to take that guy out. Take him down. He's got to go. You got to do something about him. You want to make a trade deal with me? Do something about that guy. Do something about that guy. Have more protection for your farmers, because without your farmers, your people starve. And without me, your people continue to live in squalor and poverty. Not saying all of South Africa is like that. It's no different than the United States. But if you want to do what's right by your people, you want to bring more money into your country, you want to have more security, more assurances, and growth, then you need to get rid of the radical elements in your society. You see what I'm as Trump. You see what I'm doing? I'm locking up Democrats left and right. They're out here committing crimes. I haven't even gotten to the money they were stealing through USAID. I haven't even got there yet. And these guys are out here putting their hands on ICE agents. I'm arresting them, having them charged with crimes for that. Like, wait till I start having... It's gonna be a hot summer for Democrats. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a hot summer for them. You're gonna see a lot of handcuffs, a lot of perp walks going on, a lot of grand jurying going on. Like, you know, I'm trying to clean up the country. You need to do the same. You need to do the same. You want to make a deal with me? Those are the terms. Do something about that guy, then give me a call and we'll talk. We'll work it out.
Ricky, excuse me, do you have anything to say? I mean, I don't want to leave you out. You know, the guy won 3 or 4.
What's up, Nomadis?
3 or 4?
92.
That's a lot.
Nomadismo.
By the way, 2's a lot.
Hope I got your name right.
Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. President Ramaphosa. I grew up in an area in South Africa that is a farmland area, Polokwane. And there is some issues up there. Obviously, my dad was a property developer as well as a part-time farmer. And yeah, some of these buddy farmers got killed. The farm is still going. My brothers run it, but it's a constant battle with farms they're trying to burn the farms down to chase you away. So it is a concern to try and make a living as a farmer. And at the end, without farmers, there's no food on the plate. So we need the farmers
And
to
your brother
produce
loves
the food.
farming, right? He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't even want to do what you're doing, right? They love farming. They don't want to leave it. But it's a struggle.
Yeah, and food and fresh water is the most important thing in life. Without those two things, you can't survive.
How is the water there?
The water is great. Obviously, all the water comes out of the borehole, out of ground for us every day. But yeah, it is a battle to get the water out sometimes when all the equipment gets stolen all the time that you're trying to get the
So
water
does
out.
your family and your brother, do they feel safe on the farm?
They live behind electric fences, try and be at night safe. But it is constant whenever you leave that something could happen. And
There's nowhere to live.
Both of them has been attacked in their houses. My mom's been attacked in her house when she was 80. So it is difficult. But the guys live a great life despite everything going on.
Something.
President Trump, I brought along the president of the largest trade union in our country, Ziggy Solosi, because she leads many, many workers, more than 1 million, 2 million workers. And maybe we should give her a chance to say something, because she's come all the way to join us.
Thank you very much, Mr. President Trump, for having us, and President for extending the invitation to us as organized labor. And I must say that we are here to support the initiative that has been made by our government, business force as organized labor. We've been coming to Washington on the AGOA trade relations in the previous regime, and I think at the center of it all, for me, it is exactly what Mr. Rupert has said, the importance of us growing the economy. We have always emphasized when we were here and kept on coming and negotiating on AGOA that the 600 US companies that are based in South Africa, as you said, President Ramaphosa, 500,000 jobs will be wiped out. We need more foreign direct investment in our country. We are not just talking about those that will lose employment, but we are talking about over 40% of people that are unemployed, that have no hope of ever finding a job. And we think that, correctly, as they have said, that we need to deal with the issue of porous borders in our country, so that everyone that comes in is documented.
Yeah,
we also
deal with your immigration
to,
problem.
And I would have thought that the minister would address the issue of land expropriation and how the policy works in South Africa. Recently, President, as you were preparing to come here on the news, in I think it was in Natal, there was a handover of farms, and white farmers were saying, we are donating the land, but also there's a willing buyer, willing seller in South Africa. So there is no expropriation without compensation, but it is a willing buyer, willing seller. And that white farmer was even saying that the government is even paying more in buying the land than what the land is worth.
Oh God,
and
you're
I think
crazy.
those are the realities, President, that we must say that we need to address, of course, but also the importance of agriculture linked to AGOA. People rely on it, and I think, as Retief have said, for survival and living. But lastly, for me, President, is also the issue of the crime statistics. There is no doubt about it that we are a violent nation, for a number of reasons, and we're not condoning anything.
Poverty.
But also, if you go into the rural areas,
Education.
where Black majority are, you would see women, elderly, being raped, being killed, being murdered. And these are Black elderly women that would be found throat slits, raped multiple times, and all of that. And the problem in South Africa, it is not necessarily about race, but it is about crime. And we think that we are here to say, how do we, both nations, work together to reset, to really talk about investment, but also help us in how we can have the technology and everything that is needed, President, to really address the levels of crime that we have in our country. Thank you very much. President Trump,
You got to do something about your radicals in government.
It's a very small word. I'm wondering if you made up your mind as to whether you believe genocide is occurring in South Africa, or you still doubt it. If you have made up your mind, why invite President Ramaphosa here today?
Well, I haven't made up my mind. I hate to see it from the standpoint of South Africa, but also, I'm trying to save lives. I'm working with Russia and Ukraine. I don't have to do that. It's not our war. It was started by other people. It was helped along by our past administration. It would have never happened if I were president, but I'm trying to save lives. And no matter where. Rwanda, I have nothing to do with Rwanda and the Congo, but I felt I had a very talented person in this administration, and I sent him there, and he did an unbelievable job. I think. I mean, we're going to find out, but he's done the hardest part of the job. It should happen. If I can save lives, I want to save the lives. If it's in Africa, that's great. If it's in Europe, if it's wherever it may be, and it's a very small investment to do, believe me, compared to what the consequences are. So I hope we can do something. Look, I have so many friends. These two men, I have great admiration for them because I know what they do for a living. And that's a very hard living, going from city to city, from country to country, and hitting a ball 350 yards like they do.
Better than you and I.
Getting the ball in the hole. It's a very tough, with lots of people watching, right?
Yes,
That's a very tough living. They're
Oh,
champions.
golfers.
I respect champions. And I respect very much. And I think the country is very lucky. They really wanted to be here. They could be elsewhere. They could be on a beautiful fairway someplace, and they wanted to be here. So.
My name is Yanda Mogo from Newsroom Africa in South Africa. How important is it for the United States to be at our G20 summit in November, given the relationship between our two countries? You just heard what has been said to you just now. Are you coming, and are you preparing to come?
So without the United States, the G20, just like the G7, used to be the G8, but brilliantly they threw Russia out. Would have been a lot better if Russia was in. A lot of people would say, oh, that's not it. Because if Russia was in, you probably wouldn't have this war.
All right.
And if you had a different president, you wouldn't have the war either. But
All right.
we have a G7. It's important that the United States is in both of them. I think without the United States, it's I really believe it's not very important. It's not the same meaning.
As I said to President Trump, the U.S. really originated the G20. And it's important that the United States continues to play a key role in the G20. And we are privileged to be the president of the G20, but we are even overjoyed that we are going to hand over to the United States, who are the originators. And for that reason, I expect the United States to continue playing the leadership role in the G20 together with other countries. And I've said when I initially spoke to President Trump on the phone, I want him to come to South Africa for a state visit. And I also want him to come and participate in the G20. And I want to gladly hand over to President Trump to take the leadership of the G20 forward in November.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You don't want to leave.
It's done.
Thank you so
I'm taking the reporters out. All right. Question and answer period is over. Pretty much got the outline base of everything that's going on. Now, let me say this to my audience, my YouTube audience. Because there was a time back in the 90s, early to mid 2000s, say around 2020, because the apartheid era, like the apartheid era existed for all of my life up until recently, I'll say about 2020. And what was happening to the white farmers over there, I didn't care. I didn't care. It's like, you get what you get. But through legislation and moving out the old guard and bringing in the new, South Africa was able to be turned over back to the people that were there, the Africans, the South Africans. They're now in charge of their country. But the old ideology of wanting to destroy people, that has to go. That has to go. If you notice with Trump in office, his main focus is let's talk money. That's all. That's what the tariffs are about. That's what the gold card is about. That's what the big beautiful bill with the whole tax cuts, where people that make under $200,000 don't have to pay federal income tax anymore. It's now back to the ERS, not the IRS. That's what this is all about. Everything can be solved without going to war. We don't have to fight. We can just sit down and talk it out, because most wars, let's just be honest, most wars is over resources and territory. The whole situation with Israel and Gaza, they were trying to have a two-state system. That didn't work out. And in all honesty, to be honest, they shouldn't have moved. They shouldn't have moved the they shouldn't have moved the Israelis or the Jewish people. They shouldn't have moved them to Palestine. They should have let them take over Germany. They should have made funny mustache guys' worst nightmare come true. They should have made him you're the catalyst of it. Now your country is run by the very people that you tried to get rid of. That's what should have happened. They should have turned Germany over to the Jewish people instead of moving them to Palestine. And then you wouldn't have had this slow and steady erasure of Palestinians. But that's their problem, not ours. But when you make the wrong moves in government, when you set yourself upon other people, then other people get hurt. People die. Children die. Like, the woman said, they find old women with their, given necklaces with sharp objects and brutally assaulted. Unalived in the streets, on the side of the roads, in bushes and stuff. That's crazy. That's wild. Poverty is a big factor in that. That's why they want to get illegal immigration under control, because you're talking about desperate people. You're talking about people who are trying to escape. Not everyone that comes across a border is a hardworking citizen. But let's set that aside and get back to what I'm talking about. Back when I was heavy in the, I would say, the pro-black phase of my life, like I said, I wouldn't have cared what happened to these farmers. But now you're at an age where legislation has pretty much made racism illegal. It's made racism illegal, but you have way too many people on a social level that want to try to keep it alive. But it's going to take you can't kill it. You can forget trying to kill it on a social level, but you can at least keep it tapered down. This whole Carmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf thing, he shouldn't have never been able to be able to raise money. Just like the white chick that called the little autistic black kid the N-word, she should have never been able to raise money. GoFundMe should not be financial escapes for bad behavior at all. I know they're not on GoFundMe. They're on that other little money collecting site. There should be no such thing as financial rewards for bad behavior. That's crazy. Especially when you're talking about something that's been flamed as something that's considered racial. I mean, you look at what's going on here in America. It's like the Democrats are fanning the flames of racism. This is where this whole quote unquote black, but we know it's the hard R fatigue. Really, to me, it's just fatigue, period. But we can call it the hard R fatigue. Everybody wants to be PC and say black fatigue, but that's where the fatigue is coming from. You have people in government office that are, I mean, it's so bad. They're pulling Jussie Smollett's. They're inventing race. They're inventing racial attacks, inventing them. Yeah, 3 people get busted for that. That whole public office. That's a shame. But this is where we are now. Abrego Garcia, the guy is a gang-banging wife-beating sex trafficker. But this is where we are. Got Democrats flying all over the world talking about it's a constitutional crisis. I'm sorry, but trying to fight your way into a detention facility that house people that grape and unalive children for sport is not you doing your constitutional duty. That's you being a moron. You're fighting for the wrong people. Legislation is what's trying to save you. Thank you, Lifestyle. Legislation that's trying to save you. Hopefully the leaders of South Africa, this guy, President Ramaphosa, hopefully he'll go back. They'll sit down and talk. They'll work something out. He'll go back home and the guy will do what he's supposed to do, which is to stamp out that radical psychopath that's running around talking about some unaliving white farmers. And then you can start getting some deals done. And then you'll have other countries start making deals with South Africa. I mean, you can call it whatever the hell you want to call it on the pro-black side. You call it selling out or anything like that. But, I mean, do remember there was a time that the government was trying to take you out. And now that they're not doing that, don't you feel a sigh of relief? You out here, I mean, you got it bad when 2 white people are fighting and somehow you try to tie it into racism. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, you talk about. Anyway, let me get out of here. I'm going to, I know my girl, Carolyn Leavitt, she did 2 press conferences. I know she's probably going to do one in the morning. I'm going to try to jump on those and review those because from what I've seen, she had some doozies. She had some doozies and some whoppers in those press conferences, but I'm going to try to get on those tomorrow. I meant to do some of them today, but it was a busy Wednesday. But anyway, I will catch y'all later. Y'all be safe. All right.
You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't, please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers.